As we get closer and closer to the NBA trade deadline, it's becoming more apparent which players the Raptors are shopping to other teams. But according to reports, another player may enter the mix, as a mystery team has reportedly offered 3 first-round picks in exchange for OG Anunoby, and this was a trade that the Raptors turned down. So in today's video, we're going to discuss, was this trade worth it, and should the Raptors actually look to trade OG by the February 9th deadline? Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? It's Jacob here, back with Amateur Hour Sports, your source for the greatest coverage and analysis on the latest Toronto Raptors news. If you enjoy videos like this and you also want to see live stream watch parties for almost every single Raptors game, then make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Help me on my road to 14,000 subscribers. I am back from vacation. I was in Las Vegas, and we're ready to get back on track with this Raptors content. And there was a lot of stuff that happened while I was away. One thing in particular that I do need to just touch on, of course, is the rumors surrounding OG Anunoby. All of a sudden, there has been so many different reports emerging about OG Anunoby, his availability for trade, the Raptors not wanting to trade him, offers coming in for the player, and maybe, again, going back to the dissatisfaction OG has with his role on this current team, in this current setup. And there's a whole bunch of things that I'm going to break down in this video concerning those things, but make sure you stick around for the point where I feel like something is really strange about what's going on here. And it's something that OG Anunoby maybe doesn't quite understand about his role with the Raptors and what his role could be elsewhere. So let's talk about the rumors. So straight out of the gate, OG Anunoby, apparently a team wanted to offer 3 first-round picks in exchange for the player, and the Raptors turned it down. Now, this was a little bit surprising on the surface. 3 first-round picks. I mean, we're seeing typically for the star players, maybe not quite the full superstar players, but for star players in the league, like you look at what Donovan Mitchell went for, you're looking for about 3 first-round picks, that player, salary filler, maybe some swaps along with that, but 3 first-round picks seems to be the base for the star players around the NBA. And for OG Anunoby, this isn't disrespectful whatsoever. OG Anunoby's an excellent player. He's a premier 3-and-D player, one of the best defenders in the entire NBA. However, I don't consider him to be a star player worth 3 first-round picks. So it was a little bit strange to see the Raptors turning down those 3 picks that were offered. We still don't know which team offered that. I think that we can kind of infer which teams would have interest in the player. I think that the New York Knicks, they have a lot of those worst first-round picks, so these are picks that I'm sure the New York Knicks would be more than willing to offer up to bring OG Anunoby onto their team. However, there isn't really a clear path for salary matching that the New York Knicks could offer the Raptors. Another team that has a plethora of first-round picks they could offer the Raptors and does have the salary fill to make this trade happen is the Oklahoma City Thunder. And the more I think about it, the more I think that this was an offer made up by the Oklahoma City Thunder, because they have all those Clippers picks, they have their own picks, they have salary filler, they have young assets to make this happen. And the way the Oklahoma City Thunder scout, it does remind me a little bit of the way the Raptors scout and the way the Raptors build their teams. And I think OG would be an excellent complementary piece to what the Thunder have going on there, because that is a team on the rise. SGA, he can take that team as far as he wants to take them, supplement that with Giddey, supplement that when Chet Holmgren returns, also supplement that with a premier 3-and-D player like OG Anunoby. That does make a ton of sense here. But if that was the case, if actually 3 firsts were offered up for OG, well, part of the confusion for me is that seems like a pretty good trade for the Raptors to take. So it must be 3 picks that don't have a ton of value. 3 first-round picks is a very, very vague sort of statement. 3 first-round picks could mean 3 lottery picks. 3 first-round picks could mean 3 picks 25 or later in the first round. Obviously, we don't know what the future ones would look like, but the projection for those picks could be that they are not going to be very good assets for the Raptors to take on. Maybe they want to play the market a little bit more with the player. It just seems a little bit strange that, wow, 3 first-round picks seems like a lot for the Raptors to turn down, but that's just what the Raptors have when it comes to the valuation of OG Anunoby. Raptors fans, we understand the value that this player has towards the team and the value towards any team. Any team in the NBA, no matter what position they're in, no matter who they are, would want a player like OG Anunoby. The way he plays, an excellent three-point shooter. He can get up to 40% on his three-point shots. An excellent spot-up shooter, great in the catch and shoot. Solid, maybe a little bit moving for those three-pointers, but mostly just a catch-and-shoot sort of player. And defensively, he can protect the rim to a certain degree, but the perimeter on-ball defense is where he absolutely thrives. I would wager that he is possibly the best in the NBA in perimeter defense, in on-ball coverage. His off-ball defense also isn't a problem either, as he's very good in those endeavors. He was leading the NBA in steals for a long period of time. He was right firmly in the DPOY conversation for a long period of time. He's kind of slowed down a little bit. The Raptors have slowed down a lot, and has then taken him out of those conversations. But again, the understanding of what kind of a player OG Anunoby is at his age and at his contract value, $18 million, is a steal for the player. The Raptors, I guess I can understand why they want to keep a hold of that and why they want to charge a very high fee for any sort of trade that does materialize for the player. But going further about the contract situation, how much he makes, there might be a little bit of a dissatisfaction there from the player. In the offseason, in the summer, especially right before the draft, there were all these reports coming out. Jake Fisher of Bleak Street Report saying that OG was not happy with his role in Toronto. He was dissatisfied with his role in Toronto. And that OG Anunoby's camp was asking around the league what sort of value they see for the player through a trade, if they can make a trade for the player. There were rumors that the Portland Trailblazers were ready to offer up the 7th overall pick that became Shaedon Sharpe, along with other assets to make this deal happen. But at the end of the day, OG Anunoby remained as a Toronto Raptors player. But once again, we're a little bit over halfway into the season here, and reports are yet again emerging that OG is dissatisfied with his role in Toronto. He's unhappy in Toronto and might be looking to get a move by that February 9th trade deadline. And this is where there can be a little bit of a problem for the Raptors because, if one of your players is unhappy within the mix of your team, the chemistry is going to be off. The developmental strides are going to be off. But where he likely sees the dissatisfaction is the fact that he is such a good 3-and-D player, and that's the role that best suits him. He just wants to take on a little bit more. And going back to the contract value, he's obviously underpaid. $18 million is an absolute steal for the player. He feels like he can do more, and he wants to be able to do more. So when it comes to getting a new contract in the league, he can get the money that he feels like he deserves. And what we've seen this season, especially start of the season, he was getting the license to take his own opportunities in isolation, specifically isolation and mid-range. I felt like we deviated away from that for a certain period of time, but over the last month or so, especially the last 2 weeks or so, we've really started to ramp up the OG Anunoby touches in isolation, the OG Anunoby touches in mid-range. And from watching those, they are pretty tough to watch. OG is the 3-and-D specimen that you want on your team, but he obviously wants to do more. He is just not equipped to be able to achieve that. When it comes to creating an opportunity in mid-range, it's just not there. OG is best when he's shooting threes, playing defense, and when he's going straight line drives to the rim. Straight line drive where the Raptors maybe can give him a little bit of a head of steam getting towards the rim. There was a game where the Raptors hosted Dallas Mavericks probably a little bit over a month ago now where they did that consistently to very good avail. But recently, we've gone away from those. OG, the way he kind of sets himself up in mid-range, it's very choppy, it's very ugly to watch. He'll dribble up to the player. Once he's met with resistance near the rim, he doesn't have the handles to really get by the player, so he turns his back to the player, then fades away into a mid-range jump shot. Yes, some of them fall, but it is a very inefficient shot for the Raptors to allow to happen on the offensive end. Now, the offense has been fine recently, but it disrupts the flow of the offense, and it's just straight up not a good shot. Analytically speaking, it's just not a good shot. And I've spoken about that multiple times over the course of the season. That doesn't mean OG's not a good player. It just means he's not that type of player. But again, the suspicion here from myself is that OG wants himself to be that sort of player. But I think as Raptors fans, it's time to come to the realization, if you're not there yet, that the offensive jump that we've been patiently waiting for, that big offensive leap we've been waiting for OG, is just not going to be forthcoming here. It's okay for him to be an elite role player, but it's not something that he is satisfied with. And I think that's understandable. The player wants to do more. The player believes he can be more, and maybe another team is going to provide him with the opportunity to do that. So he wants to go to another place where he can spread his wings a little bit. Well, this is the problem that I was alluding to earlier on in the video, and this is where OG Anunoby maybe doesn't quite recognize the bigger picture of the situation, because I feel like a lot of Raptors fans are developing frustration watching OG Anunoby try to handle the ball, trying to create shots for himself in mid-range. Yet still, he's still given that sort of leash to be able to do that by the Toronto Raptors, where I think other teams may not be so lenient with the players, especially the teams that are going to be wanting to trade for OG. The only teams around the league that likely want to give up a big package to bring in Anunoby are the teams that feel like they're missing that sort of piece, and that they want to piece that elite 3-and-D sort of presence into their starting five. Yet, if the team is going to do that, if the team is going to trade for OG for those specific reasons that I just outlined, they are going to be trading for him because they want him to play to his strengths, shooting the 3-ball, straight line drives, playing defense. So if OG wants a move, which I don't know quite if he does. Maybe he wants a bigger role. I'm not saying he's pushing for a move. But if he does want to move away from the Raptors, he needs to recognize that that team is going to be trading for him to play the elite version of that 3-and-D role. And once again, there is likely going to be dissatisfaction there. The grass may not be greener on the other side for OG. If it's about the role, if it's about wanting more touches, a trade, I think, might be worse for the player. I genuinely think he is going to be more limited, and the team is going to be less lenient with the amount of touches that they are going to give him. So if it comes to the role, I don't think a trade is the best thing for the player. But if there actually is dissatisfaction for whatever reason, and the Raptors can kind of throw around something involving 3 first-round picks coming the other way, then I think that that's something that Masai Ujiri could definitely explore. But it's just a testament, I think, here to the Raptors and how high they value the player. And we don't know the caliber of those first-round picks that were coming in. And the final thing we do need to talk about here is surrounding this rumor. It's just a report that the Raptors asked for 3 first-round picks in exchange for the player. There's a possibility that this is a complete fabrication by the Raptors, a little bit of propaganda to show other teams, like, we're not even going to take 3 first-round picks. So if you want OG, you better come forth with a really good offer, or it's just not going to happen. You're not going to get the player. That is a distinct possibility, but I think what the Raptors are trying to do here, at the bottom line, this report coming out would suggest that the Raptors are fielding offers. They're seeing what's out there, and if the right thing comes into play by the deadline, then OG could find himself playing on another team. Now, I still feel like OG can be a big part of the retool here, but if there is dissatisfaction and you can get 3 first-round picks, some salary filler that provides some sort of value, then it just might be worth taking. All right, guys, let me know what you think about OG Anunoby, his career arcs, the way it's trending, and if the Raptors should look to trade him by the deadline. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, because that is it for me for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please, if you did enjoy, be sure to smash that like button. It does go a long way to supporting the channel, and make sure you subscribe to Amateur Sports for more videos like this and live stream watch parties for almost every single Raptors game. I'll be doing a live stream tomorrow. Won't be able to do it Saturday, but after that, schedule is clear. We're doing all the Raptors games. We'll see you there. We'll see you next time for another video.